Welcome, I'm Paul, this is Dave. Today I have 15 Glitch in the Matrix and Supernatural stories for you. The moon shouldn't dance. Case file number 2475, written by Obama Bora Bratwurst, McNuggets, Moon Terrors, and the Holy Mother of Nightmares. When I was about 5 years old, this had to be around 1998, I was in the backseat of my mom's car while she drove my brother and I home from McDonald's. I vividly remember it being really dark out, with almost no clouds in the sky, and the only source of light was the moon. It was practically a full moon and bright as hell, the brightest I've ever seen it. I remember looking out the car window and up at the moon, only to see something that would give me nightmares, and still messes with my brain to this day. As a kid, I always thought it was cool how the moon seemed to follow you home when you drove, so I always made a point to watch it as it followed us. This time, however, it was doing more than that. I looked up at it, and it was physically moving. I'm talking up and down, side to side, like the Mamba. Super scary to 5-year-old me. Of course, I start screaming and panicking, thinking aliens were descending on Earth. And my mom freaks out because she has a screaming child in her car. I pointed out to her, totally expecting her not to see it, but to my surprise, she actually saw it too. She pulls over and hugs me close and tells me that everything is okay. She then tells me that the reason the moon is doing that is because Mary, the Mother of God, I was raised in a very strict Catholic household, was controlling it to let us know she was there. I don't know why my mother thought this would calm me down, but it made everything worse. I started freaking out even more, thinking Mary was going to come down and try and kill me. My mom kept trying to get me to look at it, probably hoping it would calm me down once I realized nothing terrible was happening. I ended up freaking out so bad that she just drove home and told me that I should pray to Mary tonight and apologize for being so rude. Afterwards, I remember having horrific nightmares containing random religious figures and the moon. Sadly, my mother died when I was 9, so I can't ask her about it. And my brother was too young to remember. But I know it happened. I remember my mom explaining it to me, and I remember distinctly thinking she had lost it. I tried telling people years later, but I just ended up looking crazy. I know it actually happened though. To this day, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen that I still can't explain. Now, whenever I walk by a statue of Mary, I get legit goosebumps, and I have to leave the room. Me and the moon are okay, though. Very good to know. Very good to know. We've had occasional moon stories on this channel, from the moon disappearing to the moon rippling almost like a hologram, but I don't know if we've ever had one where it was dancing, and you had a witness, of course, your mom. Now, doesn't Mother Mary have anything to do with it? Probably not. I think that was a coping mechanism used by your mom, which fair enough. I mean, if you see something as crazy as the moon dancing in the sky, you gotta cope with it somehow. Case file number 2476, written by the chair in front. Barbecue, brothers, and the UFO that wouldn't cool off. First experience. My dad, brother and me are camping in a forest, making barbecue at night, just having fun and laughing. Suddenly, and out of nowhere, my dad looks up to the only spot in which we could see the night sky from where we were. He tells us to watch. What we saw was a big, bright yellow star moving absurdly fast on the sky. Dad and my bro watched for like 10 minutes, and then got quickly bored. But I needed to keep watching it. So I went to a place where I could see the whole sky picture. There I watched for like 15 more minutes. I saw this thing moving fast on a diagonal direction, turn from bright yellow to orange, then to red. Then things started to move more slowly, and its red color started dimming. Like it was a hot piece of metal cooling off. What I swear I saw, and no one believed me, is that when the red glow dimmed off, I saw light reflecting out of something. Like if there was a translucent thing in which the moonlight refracts. I always believed it was a spaceship in my mind, cloaked. Second experience. We were on holidays, so me and my brother are sleeping in the same room. I was having this nightmare in which I was in a large house, like a mansion, and needed to protect my family from something. But in the dream, when they saw me, they ran away. So I chased them in a good way, like in a, "Why are you scared of me?" way. That good way eventually turned into a feeling of hatred and anger, like I suddenly wanted to kill my family. And the last thing that happened on that dream was me catching up with my family and grabbing my brother's arm. It was so intense, and it made me fear myself too. Well, crazy thing is, I wake up in the middle of the night, startled, and just mumble out, "What the hell, man?" My brother answers, "Why were you angry?" Right out of his sleep. I asked him if he had dreamt the same thing, and he did. We both woke up at the same time and remembered each other's dream. That was weird as hell. A dream connection. It's almost like a shared holodeck experience. Case file number 2477, written by We're Puffin, GoldenEye, Papa John's, and the Vanishing Hours. Back in college, I was sitting in a field with my girlfriend. We were laying and staring up at the stars. It was a clear and quiet night, and we saw a bright shooting star and did the romantic wish upon a star conversation only young lovers have. After about 20 minutes of kissing, we go back to my place and meet up my friends at my place, and we realize it was much later than we thought. It was just my friend Jerry playing GoldenEye on N64. I said, "Hey, where's everybody else?" He told me, "You never showed up. We played GoldenEye and ate Papa John's for like 3 hours. We all figured you guys went somewhere to be rabbits." Turned out it was after 11 p.m., and I figured we had fallen asleep in the field. However, my girl corroborated my story, and it really felt like we'd only been gone for about 20-30 minutes tops. Under normal circumstances, I would have dismissed this as us losing track of time due to necking or falling asleep. Well, evidently, in that 3 hours of past time, there was a short but violent rainstorm right over our area. Our clothes are dry, and we never heard so much as a thunderclap or raindrop. I never explain this and just try not to dwell on it. Dare I say, UFO abduction? A romantic date with little green men. Maybe gray. Case file number 2478, written by Anonymous. He came, he perched, he partied. When I was 16, I opened the door to our backyard to check on my beagle, dog. He enjoyed sunbathing and often lounged outside all day. I noticed a pigeon walking near the dog. Our beagle had a very high prey drive, and I thought the bird was a goner. I mentally prepared myself for a bloodbath. Instead, my dog just sat up and let the pigeon walk all over him. I was shocked. I watched the scene play out for about 15 minutes or so, when I decided to run in and grab my camera. Not digital back then. I also grabbed some bread to ensure the bird would stick around. The bird and my dog enjoyed some breadcrumbs while I snapped a few pictures. I noticed that the pigeon had a unique number tag on his leg, which was unusual for birds to have in our small town. About an hour later, my dog and I said goodbye to the bird to head to my friend's house for a pool party. Our beagle loved to swim, thus he was invited. We drove to my friend's house, which was about 5 miles away. When I opened the sliding glass door leading to my friend's backyard, we noticed a bird land on a chair. It was the same pigeon, same tag and all. My beagle walked up to his bird pal and nudged him with his nose, and their courtship continued. The bird hung out with us the rest of the day. When we left the party, I hoped that the bird would follow and we would all live happily ever after. Unfortunately, we never saw my beagle's bird friend again. This is rather adorable indeed. Perhaps a highly intelligent bird, which many are. Case file number 2479, written by Anonymous. The Gospel according to Friendbird. I was up early before leaving for work, and my wife was awake but still in bed. My computer desk was right next to the front window. So I was killing time before I had to leave on the internet when I heard something go tap, tap, tap on my window. I thought it was my father-in-law messing with me. He lives across the street, and he's always doing annoying crap like that, shining flashlights in our windows or knocking on our back door. I pull the curtain back and I see a little bird, later ID'd as a juvenile mockingbird, with one out-of-place feather on its head, perched on the window. It looked at me, made a weird little caw sound, and flew away. That seemed a little odd, but I went back to the computer when, less than a minute later, I heard the same tap on the window. I opened the curtain, and there's the bird again. It looks at me, makes its sound, then flies up to a tree branch outside my window. I called to my wife. There's a bird outside that's trying to get my attention. So she wouldn't think I was leaving for work and rush to kiss me goodbye or anything when I opened the front door. I step outside and look, and the bird is gone. But just that second, a city utilities truck was pulling up in front of my house. I went to talk to the guy, and he was there to just shut off my water because we forgot to pay the bill. I convinced him to go ruin somebody else's day first, while I ran down to the fiesta to pay the bill. If it wasn't for that bird, my water would have been shut off, and that would have really sucked. That day, I started the first church of Friendbird. Since then, I've had a number of strange experiences with birds, but that was the weirdest one. The religion of Friendbird. That sounds rather nice. Case file number 2480, written by Romez72. The night noises, the sacred apple, and my WTF moment. Ever since I was 5 years old, I would hear these weird noises nearly every single night. Sometimes the noises would sound like a mixture of a rooster and an angry cat. And only once or twice it sounded like a woman crying in agony and groaning in pain in my right ear. I used to sleep in the same room as my mother, father, and younger brother at the time. I would immediately wake them up when I would start hearing these noises, but as soon as I would wake them up, the noises would stop instantly. My mom and dad would always say, "It's probably just a cat outside the window. Don't be scared, go to sleep." Then, when I was 9 years old, we moved to a different state. The first 2 to 3 months at the new apartment were peaceful. I was happy because I assumed maybe it was just that house that had something in it, because the weird noises I used to hear every night are gone. But all of a sudden, it started again. The same weird chicken and cat-like noises came back. This time, I had my own room too, so I didn't wake anyone up about it at night to tell them. I just put up with it. Then in 2003, I was 12 years old. We moved to another house in the same state, and I heard the weird noises at night at that place too. Finally, in 2011, I was 20 years old now. We took a trip to India to visit family. We went to this temple. There was a priest there, highly respected. My mom kept insisting that I tell him about these noises I'd been hearing for a long time. I was hesitant because there were a lot of people around him, and I didn't want them thinking I was crazy or judging me. But I went ahead and told him since my mom wouldn't stop pushing me to do so. I guess she wanted him to do a prayer or something for me. So I told him about it. Afterwards, he handed me an apple and said, "Just eat this, and you won't hear it ever again." I looked at him like, WTF, and that was it. He gave me the apple, said that, and walked away. So I ate the apple. Never heard those noises ever again. I still don't know what was causing those noises, and why I was the only one hearing them in my family. And I don't know how the heck a freaking apple fixed it. It's very strange. I'm just glad it stopped though. I wonder if this could be related to some sort of placebo effect. We don't know where the sounds were coming from, if they were real or not. They must have been in your head though. I mean, go back to Neo asking Morpheus, what is real? Real is just electrical signals interpreted by your brain. Well, yeah, that's true. So something was going on up here that no one else could hear. And maybe just believing that the apple would fix it enabled your mind to fix itself. Something like that. Like a sugar pill that cures cancer, when really it's just the body doing it. Case file number 2481, written by Javanese Ball. ACU, PTU, and the Sorcery of Regulation Compliance. So I was 18 at the time in basic training. According to Army Regulation 670-1, you are not allowed to mix the physical training uniform with the Army combat uniform. This includes wearing your PT shorts under your ACU trousers. We go out to the land navigation range to learn how to use a map and compass. It's a bunch of woods in Georgia in mid-April. Absolutely beautiful. We had just gotten our block of instruction and were plotting our points before we set off to do the range when we hear, "Company, fall in." We fall in by the platoon, and our drill sergeant comes up. "All right, Joes, somebody over in 2nd platoon got caught wearing their PT shorts under their pants. So now I gotta come and check and make sure nobody else is messing up. Go ahead and drop trow." The guy next to me elbows me and whispers, "Yo, Al, this ain't good, man." "Why not?" "I got my shorts on." "Freaking why?" "In case we gone hoop." Yes, he was seriously concerned that we might have to play basketball in the middle of a forest at Fort Benning. I told him to figure it out and started praying to the army gods that our punishment would be swift. Anyway, drill sergeant comes down our rank, checking to make sure everyone has their uniform in order, and he gets to me. "All right, you're good, troop. Put your pants back on." Get to the guy next to me. "Yep, go ahead and pull him up." And I think, what the hell? I look over and he's got his standard issue underwear on as per regulation. Blew my freaking mind. Later I asked him what had happened to his shorts, and he pulls them out of the pouch of his camel back, fully intact. To this day I lie awake at night wondering how that motherfricker took his shorts off without unlacing his boots, removing his pants, or ripping the shorts. I can't make sense of it. Private Murphy, if you're listening to this, you gotta explain that crap. Case file number 2482, written by Chippy Lipton. When the only thing creepier than the rent is the house. Had some weird experiences at a student house in York, UK, a couple of years ago. I lived in a terraced house on a tiny street with 2 other girls. The house was creepy as hell, weird feelings, maggots coming through the carpet in my bedroom, etc. I eventually had to move out after about 6 months due to this, and was semi-convinced there was a body under my room, due to the extent of it, and the fact a fairly famous unsolved disappearance happened nearby. It's too long to go into, but lots of weird crap happened. Even skeptical friends hated the house. With someone who does not believe in anything bolting from the house in fear, when no one else was in it, I used to hear knocks at the back door, and the sound of someone saying, "Please let me in." And then, when I would go to open the door, there would be no one there. We had an 8-foot wall surrounding the back garden with a sheer drop, and the gate was always locked from our side, so that was always confusing. One of my skeptical housemates also saw stuff. She was up at 6 a.m. one morning for work, doing her makeup in bed with a hand mirror. Her boyfriend was in bed beside her. She could hear his breathing and see him under the duvet. Then he walked through the bedroom door. There was suddenly no one beside her. She has no idea what was in her bed, but suddenly the duvet resettled itself down, as if someone had just moved out of bed. Another time she was making a cup of tea in the kitchen and heard the door go. She heard our other housemate walk into the hallway. You get to know the sound of certain people walking when you live with them. And shouted to her, asking her if she wanted a cup of tea, bringing upstairs. Housemate then had just walked in, answered, saying yes, please. But when the other one went upstairs to give her the tea, there was no one there. She checked the whole house and the doors were locked. Yeah, maybe if the rent was $1. Actually, I think I'd have to be paid to stay there. I guess that would kind of work with the channel. Being paid to live in a haunted place would save on rent and make some extra money, as long as they don't interfere with the computer. Case file number 2483, written by Skunkuna, Tall Grass, Giant Wasps, and a Bladder Emergency. When I was growing up in Eastern Europe, my parents would take us on walks to a place that has this unique natural architecture with tall eroded stone spires and natural bridges. Towards the end of one of these trips, While walking back to the car, I really needed to take a leak. We were walking on the road beside a hedgerow, maybe 5 feet high and 4 feet thick, beyond which was a long wooden fence and rows of houses. Suddenly I saw a hole in the hedgerow just big enough for a little kid to fit through, so I went in. To my surprise, I found myself in a large clearing with a canopy of thick vegetation, high above my head, blocking the sunlight. There was a wall of impossibly tall reeds to my right, and the ground felt as if it was made of soft rubber. As I proceeded with my business, I noticed a deep hum and the fluttering of insect wings. It was made by what appeared to be huge hornets. There was an alarming number of them, and they were of a tropical size. I collected insects as a kid, and I was sure I had never seen anything like these before. As they made me nervous, I finished up and ran out of there to rejoin my parents. Whenever we go back, I was obsessed with trying to find that place again. I never did. What still bakes my noodle is that even if that whole experience was a brief hallucination or a trick of memory, I could never find a spot in that hedgerow that was big enough for a kid my size to fit into and stand up in, let alone walk around for 10 minutes. So, portal to Narnia. Portal to jungle Narnia? Through a hedgerow, not a closet. Hey, who knows? Case file number 2484, written by Area Man XZ. The shock before the silence. I've had a number of strange experiences that I still can't explain. The one that stands out the most happened about 3 years ago and occurred the morning of my papa's passing. Just a bit of background. He was my step-grandfather, as my mom had lost her dad when she was 4. The papa that I knew loved myself and my brother and sister. He was a World War II vet, came from very little, was extremely humble, and showed so much compassion towards everything in life. Heck, some of my earliest memories are of me spending time with him. My papa was aging, and he was on his way out, so our family all gathered one last time, Tuesday evening I believe, to all say our final goodbyes. It was extremely hard for me to say goodbye, because he had such an impact on me growing up. Anyway, I reassured him I loved him, and that I was still in school, staying out of trouble. Even though he was in such a bad state, he managed to show one last smile. Flash forward to early Wednesday morning. It was around 4:30 a.m. when suddenly I was jolted awake. It felt like I had received an electric shock, and I sat right up in bed, fully awake. My entire house was quiet, so I didn't think too much of it. I tried to fall back asleep but couldn't. About half an hour later, I hear the phone ring and knew what it was going to be. My papa had passed away. Upon going to see him one last time, my mother, my sister, and I were told that he had probably passed a little before we received the call. I still can't explain why I woke up so fervently that morning, but I like to think it was my papa's way of saying goodbye one last time, or at least your soul was connected to him enough to know when the tether was severed. Case file number 2485, written by Corporate Custer. Lost time, found gold. So, have I got a story for you all? I need to write this out because it's completely unexplainable, and I'm dumbfounded. 2 Sundays ago, my wife and I went to Costco to buy a bangle set for her. When we got to the store, she took off the bangle she was currently wearing, a sentimental gift, to try on the new set. We decided to buy the new ones. I remember handing her the original bangles before we left. On the way home, I stopped at Xfinity to switch out my router for a new one. Then we went home and ate some pizza. I told my wife she couldn't have the new bracelets yet since it wasn't her birthday, so I hid them. The next day, I reconnected a few internal house cameras to the new router, and life went on. Wednesday, I decided to go ahead and give her the gift. When she went to put on the new bracelets, she realized her original bangles were missing. We assumed she must have taken them off somewhere in the house, so we started looking. But nothing. We searched for days, top to bottom, every room, every drawer, gone. The house cameras show that she didn't have them on Monday evening, so we figured they were lost between Sunday and Monday. We called Costco and had them check out the security footage. They confirm we left the store with both sets of bangles, because they could see the originals on her hand. She checked her drawers at work, nothing. I searched the house so many times I started searching the same spots over and over. 2 days ago, we basically gave up. Then, last night, I was washing out my little water bottle. After dinner, I went to clean it with a dish rag. I had already wiped down a few dishes and grabbed the bottle. I've been using this bottle all week. I took it everywhere. Washed it multiple times, and even had ice and Pedialyte in it. As I cleaned it, with the dish towel partially closed in my hand, the 2 bracelets suddenly appeared, like they popped into my hand. I cannot explain it. It felt like a magician made them appear, but it was just me and my wife. And I felt like I broke the bottle or something, but no. It was both bangles directly in the center, with the towel directly in the center of my hand. Here's the crazy part, as if this wasn't already crazy enough. We've tried to put the bangles back in or around the water bottle opening, just to see how they could have gotten there, and it's not possible. They're too loose and would shake around inside. We would have heard or seen them, and don't fit through the outside mouth of the bottle. I had cleaned the bottle multiple times this week. Nothing was in it, and it wasn't in the towel either. We've been using that same dish rag all week. If the bangles had been in it, we'd have noticed. They're gold, heavy, you'd feel them. We are simply stunned. My wife's already given up trying to figure it out. I haven't figured it out and found an explanation. I can't. I have no explanation. It's driving me nuts. It's a weird story and not one I'm willing to tell most people I know because it makes me look crazy. This is the most common glitch. You're not crazy at all. This happens all the time. It's happened to me. It's probably happened to like half the people watching this video. If I had to guess. Maybe more. I don't know. But yeah, most people won't go out of their way to share this experience because they don't want to seem kooky, but you're not. You're really not. It's just DOP, Disappearing Object Phenomenon. Case file number 2486, written by Narrate. Excuse me, ma'am. You're not on the Futon roster. I grew up with a divorced family, and the house my mom had was kinda weird. We always joked it was haunted, because sometimes weird things happened. When my younger sister and I would stay the night, we had futons. We would lay them out in our baby siblings' rooms, and we'd crash there. I would stay in my brother's room in the corner diagonal from the door, and my sister would stay with our baby sister in her room. She made a habit of laying her futon right next to the baby sister's bed, because little sister had a habit of sleepwalking, so if she started to get out of bed, older sister would get stepped on and had to wake up and get her. This was a good setup, since my sister was a light sleeper. This is important. We always slept with the doors cracked open. So if someone went to the restroom, they wouldn't wake up the others. Both bedrooms were at the end of a long, narrow hallway, which had no other rooms attached. One night, I'm quietly talking to my boyfriend on the phone, while my brother is sound asleep. The whole house is asleep, and I have insomnia, so I'm the only person awake. It's about 1 a.m. I see an outline of a person come in and open the door a little, like they're peeking in. It's the exact height of my baby sister, and the outline looked like it had long hair and a nightgown. I muttered to my boyfriend that my baby sister is sleepwalking, and I need to go lead her back to bed. Stepping out into the hallway, I can see her silhouette clearly, thanks to the streetlight coming in from the window, from the living room at the end of the hall, and start following her down the hall, quietly trying to catch her, until I pass my sister's room. My sisters like to sleep with their door wide open so they could come and go, and also had a nightlight so I could see clearly into the room from the hall. Both my baby sister and middle sister are sleeping in their respective beds, and there was no way baby sister could have gotten out of bed without waking the other. At this point, I was still on the phone with my boyfriend, so he had heard me quietly mumble and complain about her sleepwalking, and now heard the slightly louder whisper of, "WTF?" Looking back down the hallway, the outline is still there, shuffling down the hall, like a sleepwalking person. I start following it out of curiosity, but only manage to go another foot or two before it hits the entryway of the living room and disappears. Boyfriend hears another WTF from me, followed by a, "Oh no, it's too late for this crap," and then I head back to bed. Explain what had happened once I got back to bed. Whole experience lasted maybe 2 to 3 minutes tops. Was that my sister's soul? Yeah, it probably was. Case file number 2487, written by Kremlin Gremlin 82, when the Reaper has mood lighting. Ex-husband and I once rented an apartment in a creepy building right across from the cemetery. He worked third shift and I didn't, so I went to sleep alone at around 2 to 3 a.m. All of a sudden, I woke up to a bright blue light to the left of me. I turned my head, and there was a dark figure standing inside of an intense neon blue light. It was cloaked, and I couldn't see any facial features. I couldn't move or do anything but watch. The figure, about 6 foot tall, started moving with the light around the foot of my bed and moved to my right. It stood there for a moment, then reached out with its hand. It had long, bony fingers, and touched me on my arm. There was a slight zap, and I woke up or came to. The figure was gone, but everything was just like in real life, and it really didn't feel like waking up from a dream. I had a most severe sense of dread. It was the most severe sense of dread I've ever experienced in my life. I quickly got up and turned on all the lights and a TV, and then called my ex. He told me, of course, that it was probably a dream, and I understand him, but it felt very real, not like any nightmare I've ever had. I got dressed and walked to my mom's house 2 miles away. Needless to say, I did not sleep in that apartment after that. This traumatized me so much that even thinking about it would make me cry. I've been trying to find people with a similar experience since then. Later I found out about sleep paralysis and thought maybe that was it. I'd give everything to know what happened. Yeah, well, sleep paralysis could fit, although how frequent is it to have one experience of sleep paralysis and never again? To my knowledge, if you have it, it's something that will happen again, multiple times. What is the frequency? Once a month? I think I've heard people have it almost every day or every night, or once a month. Relatively common occurrence if it's something part of you. Case file number 2488, written by T.W. Wysted, F8. The Rotating Cabinet of Culinary Mysteries. I'm aghast right now. My boyfriend and I are cooking together in his late mother's kitchen. He was looking for breadcrumbs, which we always have a surplus of, and I told him they're in the rotating cabinet. He can't find them, so I look for myself, and I can't find them either. I went round and round and round many times and couldn't find them. He went round and round and round. I even went so far as to reach way back behind the turntable part to see if they had fallen off. I retrieved several items that were probably 7 years or more old back there, from when his mother was still alive. No breadcrumbs. So we decided to make some breadcrumbs by whizzing some croutons in the blender. We completed that, and then he went into the same cabinet to get something else and says, "You're not going to believe this. Maybe Mom is playing tricks on us now." 2 cans of breadcrumbs are there, prominently placed, and exactly where I would normally put them. My boyfriend is not a practical joker, and he would never have been able to keep a straight face through this whole exchange, even if he were. It would be his first practical joke. No one else is in the house. These cans of breadcrumbs are on the shelf, and they are so conspicuous, so obvious, not obscured in any way or behind anything. You can literally see them from the next room. I can't accept the possibility that we just happened to miss them the first dozen times we both looked. Case file number 2489, written by 45 Minutes of Roadhead. She came with the light, and left with my heart. My grandmother, whom I called Nanny, died when I was almost 3 from a heart attack. We were extremely close, because she kept me every day while my parents were at work. I can still remember my parents telling me that she had died, and I understood that it meant something bad happened and that I wouldn't be able to see her anymore. Anyway, I always slept in bed with my parents. About 2 months after her death, I woke up in the middle of the night and slithered out of bed, walking into the living room. I thought the sun was up because there was light coming through the blinds. Someone knocked on the door, and for whatever reason, I opened it. It was my nanny. She looked a bit younger, and her skin looked like it was glowing from underneath. I couldn't see past her because the lights behind her were too bright. I jumped into her arms and exclaimed, "I thought you were dead." She giggled and told me that she missed me and that she was coming to see me one last time. She told me she loves me and will always be near me, even if I can't see her. We said our goodbyes, and she sent me back into the house. When I shut the door, the lights were no longer coming through the blinds, and it was dark out. I went back to my parents' room and crawled into the bed, and went back to sleep after a bit. The next day I told my parents about it, and they insisted that it was a dream, and I argued with them about it. Today I am not superstitious, but it's been one thing I've experienced that I've never been able to fully understand or explain. It was so real. It was real. Now time for the jokes of the day. My wife read a draft of a mystery novel I'm working on. She goes, "I don't get it. In chapter 2, you randomly wrote, shadow, 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 shadow. What the hell does that even mean?" I'm like, "Babe, it's called foreshadowing." My wife called me last night and said, "If you're not home in 10 minutes, I'm giving the dinner I cooked for you to the dog." I was home in 5 minutes. I'd hate to subject my dog to that. A guy asked me, "What's the fastest way to get to downtown from here?" I asked him, "Are you walking or driving?" "Driving," he said. "Yep," I said, "that's the fastest way." My wife asked me, "How many men does it take to open a beer?" I said, "None. It should already be open when you bring it to me." Dangerous. My wife asked me, "Is it just me or is the cat getting fat?" Apparently, "It's just you" was not the right answer. Nope. No, it most surely was not. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony, signing off.